The Bengals won their first preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23-12, and most encouraging was the play of the offensive line. John, what did you see?
The biggest issue going into this game and going into the season was that offensive line. And I think that the coaching staff, specifically Ken Zampese and the offensive staff, really had that game plan for this game to have Dalton just get the ball out of his hands extremely quick, to just really negate any issues from Abwehi and Bodine and the other unknowns on the offensive line. So you saw Dalton get the ball out of his hands extremely quick, always going to his first read, and basically that kind of masked any deficiency that we might have seen from the offensive line and kind of created maybe a false perception about it. And that was really the cause of Dalton's interception on the opening drive. He was getting the ball out of his hands extremely quick all drive, and then Vernon Hargraves, the cornerback who picked the ball up, kind of read that and kind of diagnosed that he was getting the ball out quick, so he just jumped the route and just predicted that Dalton would get the ball out quick, and he ended up with the ball. So that was kind of my issue with the whole thing. There was a lot of predetermined throws and scripted plays to kind of mask any long progressive plays for Dalton for the pass protection to kind of hold up. But overall, I really like what Trey Hopkins did at right guard. I really like what Christian Westerman did coming in at left guard.
John,
I will say this really quick. Yeah. They have 4 good offensive linemen on that team, but I doubt that we're going to see all 4 of them on the opening day roster.
That's true.
On the opening starting depth chart.
Yeah, let's before we. I know you're talking about the offensive line, but you said something that I think needs addressing. Okay, it needs addressing, as they say, and that is the interception. Fine, he's trying to get the ball out fast, and but if you're throwing fast, but you're throwing that inaccurately, I could see some legitimate reasons for throwing an interception like that. Yeah, you get your sudden transient disorientation, which happens. You can be suddenly transported to another body. It could be an earthquake. None of those apply to Dalton. Throwing the ball fast, that ain't no excuse. If he's going to throw fast and inaccurately, what's the use? The game picked up, and the Bengals started to do better when Dalton was out. And personally, I have grave concerns about Dalton's performance.
Well, yeah, back to the offensive line. John, you make a good point. Yes, they got rid of the ball quickly, all that. But, Jeremy Hill was running the ball better than he did most games last year on an opening drive. The holes were a little better. He looked a little better. It seems like the run blocking might be a little improved. You can't tell much from one drive in a preseason game. But
no, I agree, because for the most part of last season, Clint Bowling was playing with one arm because he hurt his shoulder midway through the season. So he looked a lot better in getting pushed. So did Christian Westerman when he came in at left guard. Bodine's still Bodine, so you're just going to take that, below average play from him. But Trey Hopkins got a lot of push. Jake Fisher got a lot of push. Even Cedric Abwehi got a lot of push on some stretch zone runs. So the holes were definitely opening up for both Hill, but especially for Mixon. And you can just see how much more Mixon can make out of something compared to Hill, especially with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, the next high point, and I want to go to Jordan for this, was Joe Mixon, who we've been ranting and raving about. And for good reason.
And rightly so.
Yeah, the man
Absolutely.
looked like a beast. He looked like a guy who is built precisely for the NFL. The way he cuts, the way he moves, the way he reads, his blockers. He looked fantastic.
Yeah. Joe Mixon is exactly what I was expecting as soon as we got him from the draft. His ability to be a dual threat back. It gives us so much more versatility on the offensive end. You can see it with his, just flare outs, his ability to break multiple tackles as soon as he gets the ball from a pass, and his ability to be so shifty in between the tackles with the runs. It's something that Jeremy Hill never really offered us, and it's something new that we have on our offensive team.
And that was Mixon with a foot injury, by the way. He wasn't. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that Mixon was not 100% Mixon. Mixon was 90 or maybe 80% Mixon. When Mixon is 100%, he gets a little more, experience, in his pockets. He gets a few more yards under his belt. This guy's going to be unstoppable. You get your Mixon, and of course McCarron and the other guys.
They're the backups, so they play together. And speaking of that,
right?
Yeah, and so the thing about McCarron, this past week we heard about the trade rumors and how the Bengals could have traded him, they didn't trade him. Now those trade rumors might pick up, because of the play of Jeff Driscoll, who looked absolutely fantastic.
He looked like Mike Vick. He looked like Mike Vick.
Yeah, he blew me away. I did not know he had big play ability like that. He was 8 of 9 for 97 yards. And if the Bengals feel confident that he can, if, for some reason Dalton, he's a very durable quarterback, but if he goes out and they need a backup quarterback, if he can take that place, well, why not move McCarron for that second-round pick that teams were offering?
People forget that Driscoll was activated as a wide receiver last year. Like, he's a decent athlete, but I've been on this train the entire time. You go the same place with Jeff Driscoll as you go with A.J. McCarron if both of them have to play extensive time. We both know that they're not very good, and I don't think this game proved that Jeff Driscoll was better than a lot of people thought. It just proved that he could do the same things that McCarron could do when given the chance. But if one guy is warranting, a second-round pick from other teams, there's just no reason why you would hold on to that guy when you have this guy right behind him. There's just the only thing that's stopping this is just the greed for wanting a first-round pick. That's just not going to happen.
Well, I do think that McCarron is a more similar quarterback to Andy Dalton than Driscoll. So, that gives you a little more consistency in terms of your offense. I think that is...
So the game I watched was very different than the game you guys watched. When I was watching this game, I saw Dalton falter. I saw Dalton not be able to do what he really... Getting the ball out of your hands quickly is not difficult. Just spike it. But I saw McCarron... Yeah. And I saw Driscoll.
We are running out of time. We're always running out of time.
We're always running out of time when I...
But I want to move on. Just one last thing I want to talk about.
We always start running out of time.
We're running out of time. I want to talk about the defense.
I'm going to use one of your phrases against you. You are fake news, man. You are fake news.
No. Let's just move on to the final topic, and that's the defense. And the defense was, in a word, underwhelming. On that first drive, I was not impressed. They gave up big chunks of yards in the passing game, especially to Jameis Winston. And, like John pointed out, they had Michael Johnson and Pat Sims out there still, right, John? So that is a problem. But, I did see problems in coverage as well. Hopefully they can shore that up before the start of the regular season, but not something. We were hoping that this athleticism and this quickness and all this kind of stuff, these young corners finally getting to play, that we would see more of a attack style defense that doesn't surrender such big plays.
Well, look, Daddy, let's be honest. What's really going on here? This is about Gunther. And Gunther is proving to be as mediocre of, I think, a defensive coordinator as the Bengals. Bengals love mediocrity, and he's just living up to it. He's going. We were talking earlier about I thought the energy from the guys on the field was great. They look healthy. They had the energy from our defensive players was great. Yeah, but
very high energy team. Yes.
Go ahead. You see, there he goes again. But at the same time, they tried a lot of stuff that didn't work out. Now, hopefully, they were just trying it out because it was preseason and they want to try it. But you have to admit, ever since Gunther has taken control, they've kind of come down a notch from the Zimmer era. I feel.
Sure. But just in terms of personnel, what did you guys see, Jordan, John? What did you see from the team tonight?
Well, one thing that I saw was definitely the problem with Pat Sims, Wallace Gilberry, and Michael Johnson. But it kind of got my hopes up later in the game because of the second quarter and third quarter. The high play of Carl Lawson and Jordan Willis was something that I was high up on before the season started, and I'm even higher up on now because I definitely think that one of those two will have a starting position.
Yeah, I think it was extremely cool when Andrew Billings first got onto the field. They were already double teaming him, and he was still holding his own. He was still staying in his gap. The cornerback play from Dennard didn't really concern me because I think we all know what Darqueze Dennard is now. Yeah. This is age 26 year, and he's not really going to get any better. But I thought William Jackson played all right in coverage. I've been on the train that Jordan Willis will have a more long-term impact than Carl Lawson. And I think we kind of saw that athleticism shine when he got his chance at left end. Chris Smith really surprised me at right end, though. He was always a fast end, but I didn't really think he had that bend. And he kind of really, he used it better than I thought he would. So there was definitely a lot of energy and a lot of speed that came into that second and third string that was kind of lacking in that first string. And that's probably because they had the veterans out there in the first string defense. So I think as the preseason wears on, we're going to see more of those guys that played later in the game, play a lot more snaps.
Yeah. Well, we will get back together for the next preseason game. Thank you for joining us, the Sweetie Pie. We'll see you